Good morning. Today we're gonna keep going with last week's lecture, which is about social identity theory. We go brief uh, explanation about last week. Social identity theory, which is based on psychological concepts that explains individual people. They have a tendency and to categorize themselves into a certain social group. That's the basic of social identity group. People like to identify themselves as identity of a social group. That's the social identity group. Once they are categorized, the next step is the new identify their group influence individual. Actually, that influence individuals' communication and behavior. That's the social identity theory. Okay. That's the step which explains, the social identity theory explains the first step. There are three steps. First, people have categorized themselves belonging to certain group. Okay, that's based on it could be race group, like Americans, like Japanese, like Koreans. So that is categorizing. It could be a nationality, it could be religion, Christian, Buddhist, Muslim. People have tendency to categorize themselves in a certain group. That's the categorization. And then once they categorize themselves, the categorization influences their social identity. Okay, once they categorize themselves as social identity, then people have tendency to compare themselves to other groups, like social group. Me as individual, I am just individual person. But once identify myself as social group as Korean, I have kind of tendency compare my group as Korean compared to any other like Chinese, Japanese, Europeans, any race, or it could be any nationality, it could be any religion. As I am Christian, I compare myself belonging to Christian group, then I compare to other religious groups like Buddhism, Muslims. That's the social comparison. Okay, the social identification, like I said before, people begin to see themselves in group characteristics. I see myself as group characteristic as Korean. Uh, I'm proud of our Korean traditions. Korean people always work hard. Korean people pursue justice, and the honest. That's Korean culture, Korean characteristic. So I put myself in that character. That's the social identification. Then social comparison. Actually, we are categorized in group. As I am Korean, I am belong in a Korean group, right? That's we call in group. Other groups I am not belong to, we call out group. So that's the eventually we compare each other. Oh, okay. In group, out group. Also, once I am belonging to in group, categorize, we have kind of tendency to perceive, to see and recognize our in group as positive. It is like whatever I do, as I am Korean, that is always right. Always have purpose, good purpose. That's the positive point of view. While I am seeing myself as Korean, I always have positive point of view. Then compared to other out group like Japanese, Chinese, mostly we have natural point of view perspectives, but sometimes we give out group negative perspectives, like as you know, like in any sports games, we compare. Mostly we compare to Japanese, right? Soccer games. So always, even though Japanese, soccer player, they have lot of good players. They play in Europe, right? But always, we compare our team to Japanese team, because we have Son Heung-min, Lee Gang-in. So we always have positive point of view. Whatever we play with Japanese, we win. We will win. That's the positive, point of view. And then there are little concern about social identity group. I'll give you an example. That's not my opinion. Most people have kind of opinion about. That's prejudice. And then another word we have stereotypes. Once we belong to certain group, we kind of have prejudice, bias, stereotypes. Once we have those, point of view, like example could be this. When we see, it could be bad example. When we see Jewish people, most people think Jewish people are greedy. They always go with money. Whatever they do is right. Even though they give a lot of suffering to other countries. So when I see any Jewish people, I always I kind of have a prejudice, stereotypes. Jewish people. Even though he is my friend, I see perspectives, bad perspectives, like prejudice, stereotype, bias. So yeah, you guys, always talking about the money. Yeah, you guys say you are always right because you are chosen people by God. That's the prejudice, stereotypes. So sometimes prejudice, stereotypes, bias leads to racism. Okay. The good example is Jewish people in Germany, right? During World War II, there are many people were died or suffering from racism. Okay, also another history, the country in Africa, the country called Rwanda, there was significant genocide. In that country, the major race group was Hutus. Yeah. They compete each other, even though they were, developed their conflicts to civil war. So, there are many people, thousands, hundred thousands of people died from that conflict, civil war. Sometimes the conflict was between like this. Okay, me, husband as a Hutu, okay, my wife as Tutsis. They kill each other. It's because their social identity was too strong. So they have, they were put into the situation of, threatening life, saving situation. They betray each other. Even their relationship was husband and wife. Yeah, that's so sad. Also, since collapse of Russian Confederation, the Soviet Union, right? Since the collapse of the Soviet Confederation, there were, many people know the Bosnian Serbs. There was belonged to Yugoslavia. Also, there were big racial conflict between those two countries. So many people died. It was just like I think 30, 40, maybe, years ago. Yeah, not that too long. Okay, so once we have social identity group, we have kind of bad aspect of a social identity group, which is eventually racism. That's the most common example. The base for the racism is because of we have stereotype, bias, prejudice that leads to racism. Okay, there are not always bad aspects of a social identity group. Sometimes social identity group gives you, the benefits. It could be once I am belong to a certain group, that gives me the group identity, gives me the identity, some kind of belongings, right? And then it gives a purpose. Okay, once I belong to a certain group has characteristic pursuing their goal, their purpose. So I adapt myself their goals, their purpose. That's so group purpose becomes my the personal purpose. That's the effect of social identity group once we belong to certain group. And then self-worth. Okay, me as just normal individual, I am kind of I always have kind of impression about myself. I am not tall, I am not smart, I am not rich, But once I belong to a certain group, like social, higher social classes, so I adopt higher social classes characteristic. That characteristic becomes my characteristic. So it gives you I am proud of myself because I am belong to higher social class. Even though I am, when I see myself objectively, I'm not that, important person. I'm not that, I'm not that kind of, I don't have ability to do anything. I'm not, very knowledgeable. Even though with those characters, once I belong to certain group, the self group's, worth becomes my worth. That's self-worth. So we can have, self-esteem, pride, since we belong to a certain group. Then identity. Okay, as individual, I have individual identity, but we belong to certain group. We have tendency to belong to certain group. Group identity becomes my identity. Another example, Asian people, we always pursue education for the success of their business, success of their any achieve their goals, their purpose. We always pursue education. That defines Asian people, right? But some other peoples, they don't, I'm just, other race, I don't want to say, but some other race, you guys race people, you guys always poor, you guys put, no values to educations, those things, that's social identity defines individuals' identity. Issues. There are issues, bad aspects of in-group, out-group. In-group is the group that I am belong to, right? That's in-group. Okay, out-group is the group that I'm not belonging. That's out-group. Okay, once people are belonging to a certain group, like I said, I am just normal individual, but I am considered I am belonging to a certain group, like racial group. I am Korean. Okay, some people consider themselves as individual, but at the same time, they identify their characters. They adopt their racial group, like Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. Once we belong to a certain group, we kind of have always positive view to our in-groups. In-group is the group that you belong, right? So the common issue is in-group favoritism. Just you give favor to your own group. Okay, Korea is best people. Korea is the best country. That's or another other people say no. Vietnam is the best country. Once you live in Vietnam, you feel really happy in that country. That's the favorism. Once you belong to certain group. Same, that applies to any country. China, China is the best country. China is a well-developed technical, modern city. That gives you favoritism. Another issue about in-group and out-group is stereotype, prejudice. Sometimes, once we have prejudice, stereotype, that leads sometimes racism, right? Like Korean people, Jewish people, Germany people, always they have people kind of prejudice once we belong to certain group. So, like in Germany during World War II, there were many people died, right? Because of racism. The base of racism is stereotype, prejudice, bias. They have kind of perspective for Jewish people. Okay, Jewish people is always greed. They take care of only themselves. They don't give love to neighbors. That's the prejudice. Yeah. So many people suffer from those racism. Also, another issue is once you don't satisfy yourself in a certain group, you change, you shift your social identity group. You can change your social identity group that gives you high value, higher characteristic, good characteristic. Like let's say, for example, I'm just okay, me, I have an individual. I have individual identity, individual characteristic. But once, at the same time, I am a labor worker, right? Labor worker. So I have lower, identity value as group identity because I am labor worker. But the shift means you study really hard, and then you graduated. Let's say a Harvard University, you become, you put value, high value on yourself because you have knowledge and then you are belonging to group of people who graduated Harvard University. Yeah. That's the social, group identity shifting. Once it is because you are not satisfied with your identity, current identity, you belong to certain group, then you shift, you change your group identity. That gives you, more valuable identity, more values, gives you more, change positive characters. Yeah. That's the social identity. Yeah, one of social identity issues. Okay, another bad aspect for social identity theory is echo chamber. Okay, you guys do echoes, right? When you go hiking, the mountains, right? Yeah, you sound like hey, then sound reflects towards yourself, right? That's the echo. Once we have in group, people kind of tendency to view only one perspectives. They cut the other opinion from coming from outside. That's the echo chambers. Let's say World War II, the Hitler, and then there are the supporting group that support Hitler. They have echo chambers. They kind of only one point of view, one perspective. For example, yes, because we have to get rid of all Jewish on earth. That's the echo chamber. Okay, when I say yes, let's get rid of Jewish people, and then another people in that group, they say they have same opinion. That's the echo chambers. Once our group keeps no, you have that's a really bad idea. We have to live together. We have to help each other. But you don't hear those things. That's the echo chamber. Whatever you say, whatever opinion you have, that is always right. That's echo chamber. So we have to avoid the possibility that we can have echo chamber. Yeah, this is good. Example the same. The in group, out group. Okay, let's say here another country. Here, another country. Let's say this is China. This is Japan. Okay, whatever you do in China mainland, that is always right. Whatever other people in Japan, they do know they are always wrong. That's the kind of echo chamber, stereotype, prejudice, bias. Because we are belong to certain group. Yeah, some people belonging to big group, Japanese, Chinese. Me, I am Korean, so I am belonging to Korean racial group, right? So that's the one of the bad aspect of social identity. So we have to avoid to have those kind of perspectives. Okay, another example. There are many, different type of social identity. In group, out group. Okay, ethnicity, race, right? Black people, white people, Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese. What's a religion? Christian, Buddhist, Muslim. Always the group you belong to, you call in group. The group you are not belong to, out group. We always compare each other. We always compete each other. It could be applied to any any categories, like it could be ethnicity, race, religion, nationality, professional affiliation. It could be like this: professional, doctors group, right? Professors group, and then high tech, industry people. Like, I work in a high tech company, right? I work at Google. I work at Apple, something like that. Also, that gives you the identity, social group identity. Social group identity becomes my identity. That's social identity theory. Also, that applies to sports teams too, right? I am supporter of Los Angeles Dodgers. I have point of view that shows LA Dodgers is the best baseball team in the US because I am belonging to the group of people who support Los Angeles Dodgers. So I kind of bad point of view. I always put down other baseball teams like the New York Yankees. Hey, you're not compared to Los Angeles Dodgers. Arizona Diamondbacks, San Diego Padres. No, you don't even come close to Los Angeles Dodgers. That's the you could apply to sports teams too. Political affiliation too. In group, let's say I am always political opinion as conservative, right? Some other people have the opinion about liberal, right? So they compete each other. Sometimes they have good point of view, good perspective about themselves in group. That they always compete with out groups with different point of view. Because I am in group. In group that I belong to is conservative. So I always compete with liberal people who have that political point of view. It could be also in applied ages, young people, older people, middle-aged people. Most people says, right, middle-aged people say, have opinions. I really don't understand nowadays young generations. Like, MZ generations. I cannot work with them. They are always go by themselves. They don't listen to older people. They don't take the order from older generation. That's also in group, out group. You can call it. Many things, musical preferences. I'm really a fan of rock music. Some people have different tendencies. Some people have I always music is always classical music. Some people always listen to Bach, Mozart, that, right? So they don't even treat other music. That's not the music. When you talk about the music, always classical music. Classical music is the best music. That's the comparison, social effect of a social identity. It could be education, gender, sexual orientation. It could be applied to any categories. Okay, gives social identity identity theory, then we have to have a kind of skill. This class is the learning about the skill. A skill is for communication, right? Okay, this is the book about this class. Okay, if you want to buy, yeah, you can buy it, okay? Before you leave, you can ask me, okay? So, the class, we are learning about actually communication. There are many basic theories about getting a good communication skill. One of them was social identity theory, okay? Based on social identity theory, this slide explains how we can, communicate with people better. Okay. Okay. Whatever group you belong to, you always have to point of view. You work together with any other group. You have a kind of sense to work, cohesion, cooperation, collaboration with other group. Like, let's say I work in big company. Let's say I am working at Google. In Google company, there are many different race groups, right? Some workers, they are Korean people who works in Google, right? And other group, there are Chinese workers, right? And other group, there could be Japanese group of people who works in Google, right? Because we have a social identity group as Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. Once we work in the company, we have to have different point of view to work with cohesion, collaboration, cooperation. We have to have change, adapt myself to others. That's cohesion, collaboration. In the generational communications, right? Also, we have to. People have different age groups. Younger, MZ generations. I am, or whatever generation I belong to. Anyway, I'm old group, So younger group, that they can identify themselves as modern technology, right? Older groups, older people, they have view. Kids, older people, they don't even know, how to turn the computer on and off. Yeah, they have, but we have to respect the values they have. We have to minimize the difference between two groups so they can collaborate, cooperate. Sometimes we have to change perspectives. We have to adapt myself to switch to other group identification, identify. Okay, political disclosure. It is, sometimes people hesitate to identify their social opinion, but without, sometimes it gives you more conflicts between, those two different political point of view. So you could have a tendency to biases. So that results, confrontation of conflicts. That sometimes that ends unproductive conversation. You have a liberal political opinion. I have conservative, political opinions. Sometimes we talk about elections now. Biden and Trump, right? So strongly we have different two political opinions. Most of the time the conversation ends like hating each other. Yeah. So we have to avoid those things. Online communities too. Some people have different social activity groups, right? In the social media, right? Some people have the interest in sports game, right? And then even though sports games, some people really have a big interest in baseball game. Some people have big interest in soccer game, right? So there are two different groups. So yeah, we have to have the perspective. We always respect others' point of view, others' interest. The other groups. Sometimes we have to adapt ourselves to another group. That applies to online community too. Good example, Polygon. Have you guys heard of Polygon, right? That the English Premier League soccer home team and visiting team, right? They do support each other. Sometimes that ends violently in the stadiums, right? That's the hooligan. Because they don't accept other supporters of a certain group. Okay, let's say I am big supporter of Tottenham Hotspur because I am Korean. Tottenham Hotspur has Son Heung-min. He is kind of top soccer player, right? So I always support Tottenham Hotspur in the stadium. But visiting team is like Chelsea. They also have their supporting group, right? And yeah, we talk each other. Hey man, you're not gonna Chelsea. You're not gonna win Tottenham. It's not like a common conversation, but that eventually sometimes we exchange, the violence. That's the hooligan. Also, same applies interpersonal group. Whoever you meet, whoever you work with, even though you have a social identity, you have to ready yourself, accept, recognize, understand different perspectives, different cultural background that's different from yours. sometimes you have to adapt yourself. Okay, to do this better, you have to have an empty mind. The empty mind is this. Even though I never experienced, let's say, I never experienced poor living conditions, right? Let's say sometimes people in Africa, they always suffer from foods, right? That there are not enough, there are not sufficient supplies for their basic lives, right? I never experienced. But if you have an empty mind, you always try to understand it. That's the empty is understanding, interpret their emotions, situations, cultural background. That's the empty mind. So, as American, we live in America, but if you try to understand the living condition in Africa, you actually, put yourself their living condition. So once you put yourself in those, living condition, so you think yourself as African. Okay. How badly feel their the hunger for the foods, so you can give them donations, you can give them support. Yes, that's the empty mind. You understand the situation that is different from yours, right? Their culture, their perspective, their point of view, whatever conditions, situations they have. Sometimes you have to understand the emotions of other people. That's empty mind. Empty. Yeah. That's empty mind. Yeah. Okay, social identity group, identity communication, how we can apply those theory to communicate better with people. Okay, first, like I explained before, once you belong to a certain group, we have any level of prejudice, bias, stereotypes, right? Yeah. So, for better communication, always try to reduce, minimize your prejudice, stereotype, bias. That helps you. You communicate with people better. Okay. So also organizational behavior. Once you belong to certain group and other group they have their dynamics in that groups. So you always try to understand their dynamics, totally different cultural backgrounds. Sometimes that applies to individual and groups. Okay, political, social movement, right? That is very sometimes people have very different radical political opinions that leads to violent situations, right? Sometimes. So you need to understand, the factors that leads to radicalization. Radicalization is too much, the polarization. Let's say I have opinion too much, left wings. Sometimes other people have too much, liberal. Conservative right wings. If I have too much, right wings, with that political opinion, some people say, government has control everything. Government has control people's education, people's money, people's right, people's freedom. I have too much, too far to the right-wing opinion. Okay, for the country's benefit, we have to limit people's freedom. That's too much to right, too much conservative. But in another way, I have too much, left-wing, liberals. No. We always have to respect people's autonomy, freedom. That's the best value. So, whatever government say to me, I reject. That's kind of example. So we need to understand what makes that too much different political opinion. Okay, another example. Okay. Yeah, these are examples of anyhow. Once we are, we are belonging to society, right? I cannot live only myself as individual. We always help each other. We always, get some support from other people, right? We always depend on each other. Without you guys, I cannot, give lecture. Without, any situation, you cannot live by, yourself only, right? So that's our social status. We belong to certain group. We belong to society. So to live better, to communicate better, we always have to have mind, perspectives, empathy. Those leads to understanding. Put yourself other people's situation. Try to understand, recognize, minimize the difference with others. You have to have those mind. Then we can communicate better with other group, other people, other personal. Like I said, empty means understanding, recognize. Okay, understanding their cultural difference, understanding other people's emotion, understanding other people's situation they have. that's empty mind. Even though sometimes you put yourself, the situation other people have. Okay, put yourself, even though I live in America, put yourself, actually pretend yourself, you are living in poor condition in Africa. If you recognize, understand that situation, once you have, some spare money, you can donate them to children with hunger in Africa. That's the empty mind. Similar to compassion mind, helping mind for others. Okay, that's all about social identity theory. That theory is helping us to communicate better with people, with group, with social group, with professional groups. Okay, social identity group is simple. Since we are living as individual, also at the same time we are belong to any kind of society, right? Like Korean, Japanese group, Vietnamese group, Vietnamese culture, Chinese culture, Japanese culture, Korean culture. We all belong to those things. That's social identity group. Once we belong to social identity, we adopt our individual identity to the group you belong to. Okay, me just normal individual. Once I am belong as big group of Korean people, right? So I adopt Korean people's identity to my individual identity. Most people have those kind of tendencies. Then we compare each other. Okay, Korean compares with Chinese. Vietnamese compares with Japanese. Korean people compares with Japanese. Japanese compare with Korean. Japanese people compare with Chinese. We categorize, right? Oh, you are different from me. You are different group from my group. That's the comparison. Then, once we are belonging to a certain group, that gives me self-esteem, self-respect, right? For example, let's say Korean people, Asian people put values, high values in education. So Asian, I am proud of myself because I am Asian, because we put high value on education. But other racial group, they don't care, right? Some other countries, they put different, values on different social activities. Asian people also put values, high values on family, right? So I have, other people put values, others like individuals more important than family. That's the value. So once we belong to a certain group, that gives me a self-esteem, self-respect, egos, that affects individuals. So to understand better, we have to have, one more time, empty mind, confession mind, understanding others, recognize others, sometimes culture, emotions. Okay, another social identity, another theory for communication is face negotiation theory. That is developed by Stella Toomey in 1980s. She's saying, what she's saying was, humans, peoples are belonging to social being. We are living as not only individual. We always live as social being, right? We are belonging to certain society. That's what she said. And then once we belong to any group, any society, people always have conflicts. What she's saying is conflict is natural. We cannot avoid totally. There's always conflict exist in the society, between people, between groups. Yeah, that's what she's saying, Stella Ting says. So the theory, face negotiation theory, is the facial expression helps you communicate better to reduce conflicts. Okay, facial means in here, face means not only your face. Okay, face means include your individual identity, kind of communication skill. It could be not only facial expression like happy, sad, not that includes, but that face means in this theory includes more like body languages, eye contacts, other cues, other behaviors to communicate. Yeah, that includes everything in this theory, not only your face. Okay, so here are the dictionary definition. Face means not only your face. Broad meaning of face is self-image, your image. When I see one of my friends, I always have impression to my friend. Let's say my friend's name is John. Okay, when I see him, when I have a time with him, I always have good feeling about him. He is really good person. He is helping me always. When I ask anything, he try to help me. And then when I have worries, I have problems, he always give me advices. Yeah. Because I have good self-image of my friend. So face means your self-image. Your image includes your appearance, your value, your perspective, your point of view, your culture, that mix together, that makes your self-image. Okay? Not only your face. That's what the scholar Stella Ting says. Okay, here effective communicator and a good talker, they always try to understand cultural difference, cultural diversities. We are living in all different culture. So first you have to navigate to communicate better. Okay, in this group, Korean people, Chinese people, Japanese people, Vietnamese people, right? First, you have to navigate. Oh, okay, that student has a different cultural background from me. That could be a Korean culture. He has Korean culture. He has, Vietnamese culture, Chinese culture. I'm not saying certain culture is bad or good, only different, right? Yeah. You understand, try to understand. You have to recognize, you have to navigate. Once you understand their different culture, that helps you communicate better, right? So that's the navigation, cultural navigation, diversity. Let's say another example. Okay, Korean people, at the dinner table manner, we don't lift the board, right? We don't take the board, close to mouth. Yeah. Always we have to put bowls, other dishes on the table. We don't lift. But Japanese culture, they take the bowl close to their mouth. They eat like this, right? In Korean culture, that is very, very rude. we don't lift, plates. We don't lift the bowls. We always put those things on the stick on the table. That we use spoon and chopsticks. But some Japanese culture, no, they take the bowl close to their mouth. They eat like this. That's very bad culture in Korea. But in Japanese point of view, that's normal. Yeah. All Japanese people do, when they have dinner on the table. That's normal. So if you don't understand that cultural difference, you judge. Yeah, Japanese people have bad manner on the table. That's the problem. So navigate means you try to understand individual cultural background. Try to understand it to minimize conflicts. So once you understand Japanese, table manner, you cannot say, "Hey man, don't lift your bowl and take it too close to your mouth." So that can reduce the conflict, misunderstanding between different cultures. So in this theory, culture, important point of this theory is culture influences your communication style. Let's say, I'm not saying, when I talk about culture, I'm not saying that's bad culture. I'm not saying that's good culture, okay? Only different from me. That's my point of view, okay? Then I try to understand. Let's say individual culture, like Western culture, individuals, right? They put more value on their individual. But Asian culture, what is Asian culture? Asian culture, like we stick together each other. That's Asian culture, right? Collective culture, group culture. That's Asian culture. Okay? Individual culture, like Western culture, most people in that culture, the communication style is direct. Direct. Hey man, I want this. I don't want this. I like you. I don't like you. That's kind of Western culture. But Asian culture, most Asian culture is, collective culture. We stick together. That culture we don't say directly. That's cultural difference. We respect more polite way to communicate in Asian culture, right? But Western culture, they put value on polite communication, but they put more value on their messages. So they, communicate more directly. So, face negotiation theory, another point that we understand is cultural sensitivity. You always navigate each other. Okay, that people have different cultural background. Also, he has, Korean culture. Also, he lives in America many years. Also, he also adopted American culture too. You try to understand. He has both Korean culture, American culture. Once, let's say I am Korean, I was born in Korea, right? And then I live in China. I am, I have a Korean culture, and at the same time, I have Chinese culture. Mixed together because I live in China. So you have to navigate, understand cultural differences. That's the sensitivity. Cultural difference, you have to know that. That's the sensitivity. People have different level of culture. Right? I have strong Korean culture. Even though you are in Korea, you have less strong Korean culture. You have young generation. You live more time in America. Even though we are American, your culture is different from me, right? That's sensitivity. So recognize, don't judge. That culture is bad. That culture is good, okay? Just recognize, try to understand difference. That helps we communicate better each other. okay, don't try to understand negative, what is negative base, positive base. Try to understand the meaning. The word autonomy, avoidance. Okay? Okay, there are two, before I said some culture, Western culture have culture, they have a communication style, which is they talk, they deliver their message directly, right? But at the same time, Asian culture, collective culture, we have communication little different from Western culture. We communicate indirectly. Okay, autonomy, that put more value, more freedom, more respect for an individual. That's autonomy, right? Western culture communication, they put more value, autonomy. Autonomy is individual, related to individual. They put more value on individual. And, okay, individual opinion, individual thought, individual philosophy is more important. Always, Western culture, always you have to show your opinion, your idea, your thoughts. That's autonomy. But even though in Asian culture we have our opinion, individuals' opinion, philosophy, thoughts, we don't deliver our message directly. We try to communicate indirectly because Asian culture have more value and avoidance of conflict. Western culture, they don't care. Once they have opinion, individuals' opinion is more important. So they deliver their message directly. But, Oriental, Asian culture, we have indirect message delivered. So we always concerned, trying not to have conflicts. Yeah. We always try to find the way to avoid conflicts. That's the avoidance. So autonomy is related to independence, personal space. I don't break the boundary, individual. That's Western culture. Always respect their freedom. Direct communication time. Western culture, individual culture. So they have more value of those things to individual. Okay, my point of view is important, but Asian culture, we always consider others. Yeah. Because I have, opinion of considering others. Okay, when I say directly to certain person, I always mind. Okay, when I say to directly, I don't wanna make him upset like that. Okay. That's yeah, correct. When you give compliment, right? Yeah, let's say, oh, hey, lady, you're beautiful today, really beautiful. We kind of have, other people's, we have mind concerning other people's mind and feelings. That's Asian culture, indirect culture. Yeah. Different. Western culture, individual opinion is important. Asian culture, even though we have individual opinion, right? But when you communicate, you always concern others' feeling. That's respect. You values other people's value, right? Recognize, understand, sometimes appreciation that you give to other people in Asian culture. So, Stella Ting, yeah. Saying, actually, don't try to understand, terms, okay? Individual, collectivism. Individualism, Western. Collectivism, Asian, okay? Individualism put more value, individuals' right, autonomy, okay? Collectivism, Asian culture, we put more value, groups, harmony. What do you think? Is it true? Kind of true, right? Yeah. We care other people's emotions, other people's situation. I'm not saying bad or good, okay? Yeah. So that's difference. Individualism, collectivism. Most Asian people have culture of collectivism, right? What most Western people have culture of individualism. Those two connected, individualism, individuals, autonomy, rights. Collectivism, most Asian culture cares other people's situation, feelings, and the group values. That's collectivism. Okay. Next. Okay. So, whether you belong to any type of culture, basically you guys have to have a skill to communicate better. Okay, whatever culture you have to have politeness strategy. You communicate in better way. You have to maintain your etiquettes, manners in good way to communicate with people who have different culture. Respect their communication style. That's politeness. Sometimes you have to use indirect communications. Okay, let's say, let's say, I'm not talking about you guys. Let's say I have short hair, right? Short hair. Let's say my friend has, he has a very, stylish fashion. In Asian culture, okay, he is not satisfied my hairstyle. I'm short head, right? So he don't say to me directly, "Hey, Peter, if you grow your hair, you look more handsome." That's indirect message delivery. But direct message delivery, "Hey man, grow your hair." That's, direct message delivery. That communication type depends on different cultural background. Individual cultural background, collectivism cultural background. So sometimes it helps. Indirect communication helps a lot to communicate better. So, the conflict management. Like I said before, we belong to a society, right? We don't live, totally independently. We, stick together. We help each other. We depend on somebody, right? In that situations, as we are member of a society, there are always conflict. Any level of conflict is existed. So to avoid conflicts, you kind of adopt many different communication skills. For example, direct communication, indirect communication. Also, adaptability is important. Even some people that you talk to is totally different culture, right, from yours. When you communicate, try adapt yourself in that culture. Some Japanese, adapt means, you visiting your friend in Japan, right? They have dinner. I know lifting ball, play is bad manner in Korea. But once you're visiting your friend in Japan, adaptability is you try to modify your behavior. When they lift the ball, you do lift your ball and plays to adapt your culture to Japanese dinner culture. That's the adaptability. That means understand, navigate cultural sensitivity, and sometimes it goes to empty mind. That helps reduce conflict. You never visited Africa, right? But sometimes they don't use spoons to eat their foods, right? They just use their hands. When you visit it, you have to have mind of adaptability. Hey man, I don't want to eat. I have to eat with the spoons. You cannot do that in Africa. That's adaptability. Yes. Okay. Just let me see one more. Okay. Today's this last slide. See, if you read, okay, business negotiations, okay? Okay, let's say a Japanese car maker, like Honda and Toyota, they have their culture, Japanese culture. And then they try to sell their cars in America. They have to negotiate with American people, right? So people living in America, they have different culture from Japanese culture. So if you understand, if you have sensitivity, you can have better negotiation. If you have adaptability, if you have mind of their situation, their feelings coming from different cultures, that helps your business better. Okay. That's all about today. Any question? Anything you wanna say? Anything you don't understand? Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Yeah, let's wrap up and see you next